Hello, everyone. I'm Bonnie Burkert, and you are here with us for Truth Be Told Transformation, bringing you tools to transform, to live your highest life. I'm very excited today to talk to Alan Steinfeld. Alan and I know each other from Contact in the Desert conferences, and we're very excited to introduce his new book. And Alan, I know there's lots we could talk about in terms of ETs and contacts and UAPs versus UFOs, but I really like, I titled our show as Waking Up to Cosmic Intelligence, because again, I like to share tools that could really open things up, and I feel that you bring such a wealth of knowledge and experience in a lot of different fields. So why don't we start with the name of your book and the title and the making of your book, and we'll kind of get into the broader parts of it all. But making contact. So congratulations on the release.
Well, thank you, Bonnie. It's good to see you and talk to you. I missed our yearly gatherings at Contact in the Desert. But making contact, it is an action. It's a two-way street. It's like we're waiting for these beings to show up or the government to come forward and tell us the truth. This is half our part. If you're making contact, if you're meeting someone, if you're reaching out, someone's reaching back. So we are the ones, the tools we need is to know, first of all, we're not alone in the universe, that life is an emergent property of creation, that consciousness is non-local, that we are infinite beings, that we are part of a divine cosmic matrix, and that we have the power to reach beyond our conditioning and reach out into the unknown, into space, into the void, into the place where consciousness resides, and make ourselves known. Reach out, make contact by projecting your mind out into space and saying that you're ready. This is why we call the subtitle of the book, Preparing for the New Realities of Extraterrestrial Existence. It is up to us. We are half the job, you know? So making contact's an inside job. It is about going beyond what we've been conditioned to think is the norm.
No, I love that. And I totally agree. I totally agree with you on that. And I think it's really just being open to the fact that this is possible, correct?
It's not just being open to it. That's the first part, being open, but then with intention, right? So you can be open, right? You need that. And then you intend to make contact. You open your mind and say, for the highest benefit of all beings, I intend to bring these other worldly beings, these other intelligences into my awareness. And when you do that, and without fear, you set an intention and something shows up. I guarantee something, and it's not just your imagination. It is the reality of a cosmic existence that we're part of.
You touched on something that I wanted to ask you. What if it is scary? I think it's a little scary for me personally.
Is it scary for you personally, you said?
Yes.
Well, what is, when you say scary, this is good. I'm glad you asked that. What is it that you're afraid of?
Well, I mean, my exposure to otherworldly life, yes, ET and close encounters. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be scared having seen that, but we've also seen movies like Alien, and it's truly a Hollywood depiction of a lot of it. So,
but have you had an encounter?
You know, when we were in Joshua Tree, I think it was 2016. I was outdoors for the night viewing, and there was something happened in the sky that night. And I don't know
if it was the Stephen Greer night when he was leading the meditation?
No, it was the night vision with the.
Okay.
Yes, it was the night vision, night watch, and there was something very beautiful that happened in the sky. And I don't know, was it drones? Possibly. I mean, we were very close to an Air Force base in the desert there in Joshua Tree. But I do want to say, I mean, I know I just said I was scared, but then
I know that wasn't a scary experience, though, was it?
No, it was incredible. I was completely uplifted. So I guess that's very contrary to what I just said.
It's contrary because people project what they know onto the unknown. I think making contact, meeting these beings is not like anything we can imagine. And all that we can imagine is all the fear we project from the known. The unknown is full of wonder, possibility, and adventure. Remember that, Bonnie. It is not like anything you know. And so all these ideas that we all have about making contact is based on a kind of program narrative and hearing other people. But it really is a wondrous, and this is another part of the preparation, it is a wondrous moment of anticipation and transformation that awaits human civilization. I'm very positive about this. I mean, people say, why are you so positive? Because look at our past. We have more to fear from each other than we do from ETs, right? Look at the horrible wars and atrocities and awful things we've done to each other, fellow human beings. I mean, I don't think anything we could imagine could be worse than what we have done. So maybe it's not that. Maybe we're only basing our possible contact with that dark side of humanity. And maybe there's something truly miraculous that's about to happen to human civilization.
Amazing. Okay. No, it's great. And I'm not scared. I bring it on.
You're not scared now, right?
No, I'm not, because you're making me speak to you about and sightings that I've had, or something that did happen that was great. And one of the things, again, talking about gatherings that you and I have been to, I think we've gone beyond abduction stories and more into a higher consciousness, collective consciousness conversation. And that's why I really wanted to speak to you for this show.
No, but abductions, I have to say, and I think I've experienced one. I wouldn't say they're scary in the normal sense. I say they're so different than what we know of reality that there's a little bit of a disconnect, a little bit of a disassociation, because when we come into their field, and this has been my experience, it is so different and so odd and so distorting from our normal sense of awareness. That's the problem, the distortion. And the more we get used to these other realms, the more I think we can come to meet these beings on an even playing field.
Wow, that's my hope. That's great. Well, and I feel like this is an invitation for people to sort of transcend that. I'm going back to my childhood thinking about, well, what is it that creeps me out about the idea of aliens? Because I'm a person, I'm very open, angels, ghosts even, I'm open to it all. But for some reason with aliens, I'm just like, I don't know that they're speaking to me specifically. But I also think that I have assigned a very specific form to extraterrestrial.
Right, they're not that. They're not any form we can know. And so we have to start to trust our own imagination, our own inner knowing. Psychology has really helped us out a lot in understanding the self, but it's done us a great disservice in distrusting our inner knowing. So take the good part of psychology and then let the part that has disconnected us from this deeper place, let that go, because most people, there are delusional people and we meet them all the time. But for the most part, when you get an intuition or an insight or a download, or whatever you want to call it, these are aspects of the higher mind that you can trust. So take that, Bonnie.
All right, thank you. So let me ask you, on your path, what came first? That openness, that awareness, that heightened awareness, or the experience that you had? And I don't know if you'd like to touch base on that and describe what that was.
Well, I think we've been in the new age, whatever you want to call this, for a long time. So I was aware of other levels of consciousness. And that, I think, does come. I mean, some people have these experiences out of the blue, but for the most part, I think there's some level of awareness of other realities. And I think that, and that's what this book is about. This book is the preparation for other levels of reality. So if you know nothing about any of this, I think this is a foundation, this Making Contact book, because it prepares the awareness for what's possible. You know that old saying, when you believe it, you'll see it. Well, that's sort of like that. It's like, it's not about believing, but it's an open mind. Like two people can be looking at the sky and one person will see a UFO and another person won't, because it's not in their frame of reality. So yeah, we open the door a little bit to another level and something comes in and we can freak out, or we can say, oh yeah, I called this in, they're here, there's other beings. And we start to integrate that into a bigger framework of our world, but of who we are. You know, I think the biggest thing about this visitation, this moment in history, is that we learn to more about ourselves as human beings. I think that's really key to this moment in time.
I really feel that. And I feel that even from what I experienced, there was a real oneness with everyone there, but it was a joy. It was definitely a joy. So it's great to think about that. I appreciate you bringing that through for me. And one of the things I want to ask you about is this, are we kind of at this juncture that we can be more open to this? Maybe we wouldn't have been ready back in 1964, 77. I mean, pick a year. I mean. Yeah.
Well, I think, first of all, there's more sightings than ever.
Yes.
Right? There's also been a disruption in time. The time flow, the last 2 years have taken us out of a normal way of being, nothing is normal anymore. This kind of makes us more susceptible to other levels. And that may be why the government has come out recently with the fact that there's something real out there. It's not ours, not Russian, not Chinese. So reality is about to take a left turn, basically, and it's already on that curve. You know, it's already there. It's already in that momentum, and we are more susceptible now than ever before. And yes, you can look at the increased sightings. You should interview Cheryl Costa. She's just put together a great book about sightings around the country. 150,000 reported sightings.
Incredible.
In the last 20 years, from 2001 to 2020. And people are having more internal experiences. I just interviewed a woman from China. She's a Chinese ufologist. She says it's not safe to talk about this stuff in China because it's sort of like the government wants to have a hold on it. But she gets information from the Chinese population that this is happening more and more.
Wow.
So this is a worldwide phenomenon. I mean, we're very self-centered here in this country, think it's just us, but no, Italy, France, South America, England. Australia, Japan, Iran. I just talked to an experiencer in Iran. I mean, it's everywhere and it's increasing, and they're not showing up on the White House lawn because they're doing this gently. They're coming and going, and you say, did I see something? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. So it's planting seeds in our mind to make ourselves available.
I think the scary part is maybe what you say about that government. It's not even anything specific to government. I don't intend to be political in any way here, but it's almost the what will happen when there is an official message? They're here, it's real, it's happening. I just wonder how the collective, kind of in the mainstream, how they may respond to it, and it may become fearful. I mean, it's sort of
everyone's worried about. I mean, everyone's just worried about the mainstream. How are you? We are the mainstream right here. You know, it's like, and they've already announced it. If you looked at the crop circle history, they are saying this is who we are. This is what we look like. We are here. Welcome. And Schopenhauer, the German philosopher Schopenhauer, says truth passes through 3 stages. First, it's denied, then it's ridiculed, then it becomes self-evident. We are coming into the self-evident phase.
Wow, so exciting. I are you excited? I mean, how does this feel? You've been a proponent and an educator on this for so many years.
Yes.
I mean, how does that feel?
I think it feels really exciting. I think we are about to enter a new realm of possibilities. I can't think of a more exciting time to be on this planet when we are at the crossroads of civilization, where humankind is about to wake up. And it doesn't seem that way. If you look at the news, it seems like we are more separate than ever. We are more polarized. And I think that has to happen to break down these old structures, these old beliefs. No one knows what to believe. Do you believe the government? Do you believe the medical foundation? Do you believe independent news? I mean, it is so all over the place that it puts it back to us. We have to decide what's true, what's right for us, whatever that may be, and what is the nature of our own mind. I mean, no one can tell you what's real. You can give you hints, you can open your mind, but it's up to us to decide. And that we're birthing a new world. We are moving into a new sense of higher consciousness. It's hard to describe what that is, but it's not like anything we have known. It is part of a group mind, but it's also part of a higher vibration of awareness. It's like, look at your dreams. I've been having very strange dreams more than ever. There's so much to this expansion, and there's an awakening that's happening for each of us. Don't you feel that?
I do, very much so. And I think your point about looking like dreams, for example, meditation. I mean, I don't know if you'd like to share any specifics about your practice and how you stay open. I mean, we started off talking about inviting them in, being open to that perception, a perception of something in the beyond. So I don't know if you want to give any specifics on maybe how that works for you.
I do. Thank you for asking. My whole platform for the last 20 years has been called New Realities.
Yes.
And that means new levels of perception. I just also want to say to you, Bonnie, I think, you're doing this program at this time, Transformation, Truth Be Told, because you are in the flow. It is that time for all of this to come out. And the more of us that are speaking about this, the more it adds to the collective consciousness. So you're right in alignment with this force that's moving through us as evolution. So I talk a lot about what is the nature of perception? How do we recognize something? What's the difference between cognition and recognition? Can you tell me, Bonnie?
No, I will ask you to do that. Don't.
Okay, you have to recognition and cognition. Recognition, that's recognition. When you have to cognize something in order to recognize it, right? So how do you cognize anything? How do we make ourselves aware of anything? So, you're growing up, your parents say, this is a table, this is a bed, that's a chair. And, you are trained in cognitive development. So then, you see something that you had recognized before by something you cognized, and then you know what its use, you know what its name. But what if you're in the position where you have yet to cognize the reality that is coming to you? If you have yet to cognize it, you can't recognize it, right? This is what the ET situation, or whatever you want to call this, UAP aerial phenomena is. It is not recognizable because we have not cognized it, which goes back to the idea of the unknown and not projecting the known onto the unknown. What we can do in lieu of cognition is allow yourself to be more aware in these altered states of consciousness. As you drop into sleep, you start to watch your mind feed you new shapes, feed you new forms, things that are not in your normal flow. When I teach remote viewing, I tell people to look for the unexpected, expect the unexpected, see how your mind is accessing something non-local. This is what happens to us in dreams. People think that a lot of dreams are just psychological recapitulation based on Freudian theory, that may be true, but if you look at the Jungian stuff, he says it's based on a collective unconsciousness. And if you go to the Aborigines, which I studied with, I went to Australia a couple of years ago, and they told me about dream time. They say when you can start to notice the world inside your mind change in unexpected ways, you are in the dream time. And when you're in the dream time, anything is possible. These beings come in and out of that state. So when I had my experience, I wasn't conscious of it in the normal way. But then when I was regressed to that, I could see it was part of this dreamlike reality. So they're physical. They left a mark on my leg, but they're not physical in the same way we are. And they do appear in our dreams. So it's getting used to and aware and being the commanders of our own mind, our own consciousness, our own intention, attention, frames of possibility. Does this make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, I hear this as an incredible invitation for our listeners to explore this. And yes. I mean, I believe it wholeheartedly. And you can put it into play in something as silly as I refuse to acknowledge this weather report that it's going to be raining tomorrow when I want to be doing something outdoors. And I've
I mean, that's a little tricky. You can refuse to acknowledge it, but we're also playing reality is a two-way street. So you can deny the weather report and get soaked, or you can put the intention and, I think Nassim even says this, that the universe is a feedback loop. So how strong is your intention? Yeah, you might deny the weather, but then maybe you're not in touch with the reality. But as we develop the power of intention, yes. So look at the feedback that the universe is giving you and keep working on it.
I agree.
Yes, I agree with you.
All of that. Yeah, very, very much so. It's exciting. This is really exciting. Alan, you mentioned, oh gosh, I could go down the path of the Aborigines. I had a chance to be in, to go to Ayers Rock, to Uluru, and so I mean, it's an incredible. I mean, what an incredible experience. I actually climbed it, so. I mean,
they don't let you climb it anymore.
I know. I wasn't going to. I didn't think it was allowed, but a local was encouraging. He said, he basically said the cool people can climb it. So,
all right.
And not as many words. So, I mean, I think that there's a little, sort of a chance to talk about the dream time a little bit more. And if you want to give any more specifics on that for all of us.
It is related to remote viewing.
Okay, and I want to ask about that too.
Yeah, it's related because, our mind is not local. We think it's generated by our brain, but the brain is a receiver. It's like the radio. Do you think the musicians are inside the radio? No, the radio is receiving a signal, and that signal is non-local, just like, you have a radio that can receive, it doesn't matter where that radio is. If it's in the range, it can pick up the signal. But so our minds are our brains. Let's talk about brain as hardware and personality as software. But there's something that, if you look at your computer, you have hardware, you got your computer, you got your software, you got your programs. But what you need to operate the computer, you need electricity, but you need an operator. The operator is consciousness. It's non-local. The operator doesn't, yeah, the operator can tap into the cloud and get the files. Where we are the operators as consciousness of this hardware and software. But when I say we, it is the non-local essence of our being, you know? So we've learned to use our hardware. Yeah, we can, when you're a child, I remember looking at my hand and seeing, wow, how do you operate this? So we're in the hardware, but we're also outside the hardware, essentially, you know. I mean, Deepak Chopra, when I've interviewed him, says, is consciousness in us or are we in consciousness?
Yes.
So
I saw your interview with him recently, and it was pretty mind-blowing.
yeah, I like interviewing, but you know, he's not looking at the same level of the UFO phenomenon we're looking at. We're looking at it from inside of history. How is this going to affect the historical process of the human civilization? But he's looking at it as outside of history, the ahistorical in terms of the consciousness factor. And that's great. I think we need both. We need both because that's how we're going to meet these beings. Yeah,
and that's what your book does. I
Yes.
just want, you know, to bring it back around to your book. So I love the way you've staged it with the different essays from amazing, you know, really incredible speakers. And so why don't you take us a little bit through the chapters? And
Right. Did you notice, though, how I laid it out? Did you notice a progression?
I did. Tell us.
Thank you.
No, well done.
No, because I wanted, you know, it's a collection. This Making Contact book is a collection of 11 of the best researchers in the field, plus George Norrie's forward, which was a real coup there, which was really nice of him to give that to me. So the perspective goes from the external nuts and bolts to the internal, what is consciousness. And it is a multiple perspective because no one, and I know you've been around the field, Bonnie, no one has the whole truth. Everyone has their own idea about what's happening. So if someone, and I won't name names, says, I know what's going on, they definitely do not know what's going on because no one has the big picture. There's too many gaps in the puzzle. And I talk to people I really like, the experts I feel really know something in the field, Linda Moulton Howe, Whitley Strieber, Grant Cameron. These are the all-stars of our league. And each of them have written an essay with their piece, their perception. So it's like a mosaic. I want to see the pieces up close, but then when you stand back after having read the book, the reader has a place to put all these different perspectives and make up their own mind if they haven't had an experience. If they have had an experience, add your experience to these fields of researchers and know that your ideas are just as valid as anyone in this book. These people have been researching it maybe longer, like, you know, Linda for 40 years, Whitley, you know, since his abduction in 1985, Grant Cameron since 1975. I have an essay by John Mack in there who legitimized the abduction. He said these people are not crazy. He was a clinical psychiatrist, head of the Harvard Medical School of Psychiatry, a real legitimate guy. And he was exceptional in saying, I cannot invalidate other people's experience. So even though he had died 20 years ago, I went to his archivist and said, I'd love to have this one talk he did and make it part of the book because it is still very contemporary. He still was so far ahead of his time that what he wrote 20 years ago still is applicable to people looking into this experience. So the book progresses from the external to the internal. I start with Nick Pope and talking about why governments keep secrets, what they don't want us to know, what is the hardware, but he doesn't go any further than hardware, which is great because that's his specialty. That's his point of insertion into the phenomena. But then I talk to people like Grant Cameron, who says, if you've seen a UFO, you are entangled in the phenomena. You were meant to see it. And he goes deeper into that field of consciousness. So those are the investigators. I start with investigators, and I talk to researchers. People are talking to abductees and contactees, people like Linda Moulton Howe and John Mack, who are just looking at the research. And that's the second level. How is this affecting us? And then I talk to people who've been involved personally in the situation. I talked to Whitley Strieber, and that's where I put my essay of my contact experience. And then my friend Henrietta who's really the only unknown in this book, is this woman I know from New York, who I started to talk about this and started to put together things in her life that didn't make sense, like these nightmares and running from people and hiding and then waking up in their bed. And I said to her, that sounds a lot like what a lot of abductees are going through. But from the abductees, we go to what I call the contactees. And contactees may have been abductees who have worked through the trauma or the kind of the disassociations and made peace with it and realized this, like me, really this was about our evolution. This is about an awakening to consciousness. And then this last part of the book are contactees, people like Darryl Anka, who's had a 38-year ongoing relationship with the being Bashar. And I know do you know who Bashar is, Bonnie?
No, I don't.
Bonnie is Bashar is a channeled being. He's channeled through. Darryl shifts his consciousness, and then Bashar comes in and says some very wise things. And Bashar, who's from 300 years in the future, using Darryl's body, says, this is our time for contact. He calls himself a first contact specialist. So you get people like Darryl, who's bringing in Bashar, who's bringing in this ET perspective. You get Mary Rodwell in this last part, who talks to starseeds, kids who claim to be here from other planets. They are part of this phenomena, and they're telling us that they have a message for us to clean up our planet. It's a beautiful planet. We have to preserve it. And in the last chapter, I talked to Carolyn Corey. You know Carolyn Corey, right?
I do, yes.
And she's really, in some sense, merged with these beings. She really has. And so that's the progression from the exo to the SO, from the external to the internal, from nuts and bolts to the inner knowing of awareness of our time to meet these beings. Mm-hmm. That's the progression.
Bravo, and congratulations again. And we will make sure that the links to find the book will be on in the description of this video and on our website for anybody else that's listening on the podcast. So, Alan, I want to kind of close with your thoughts on cosmic intelligence. I named this show "Waking Up to Cosmic Intelligence," and I feel that you've given us, some wonderful insights to what waking up really is. Right. So, what do you feel that cosmic and intelligence, what does that mean to you?
Well, thank you for asking that very intelligent question. Bonnie, it's great to see you. We are of a higher realm. We are cosmic intelligence. What we have been called human beings is a very limited way of understanding who we are. This vast, great intelligence is of the cosmos. We are of something great. We have the ability to transform reality. We have the ability to look at the bigger perspective, to call in more of our innate intelligence. We are of the cosmos. The cosmos is not out there, it's in here. We have this deep underlying essential truth. The cosmos, I don't know how to say it any better, but we are of the cosmos. I mean, we are not a freak of nature. Life is an emergent property of being, of creation. Cosmic intelligence is actually who we really are, and we've tried to stuff that into a very limited mindset of a human being. But, Eben Alexander, who was a neuropsychologist who had near-death experience, he said, it's not how much of this great consciousness survives the death of the body. It's how much of this great consciousness survives the life of the body, the being born, because what we are is so much vaster. And then we come into these little bodies and we disconnect from that vastness. But our job, and you can do that just by being in nature, just meditating, just dropping in, just being silent. The best way I do that is watching myself go to sleep, watching the mind, training that lucid awareness, and then just falling into a deep peace, because in that deep peace, that peace that passes all understanding, you realize that we are transcendent beings. We are the cosmic intelligence.
Oh, thank you. That is so beautiful, and what a much better way to be than in the 3D world, right?
Well, we're all of it. We can't discount the 3D world. We have to have a foot in both worlds. But, if you're just cosmic intelligence, you can't get from A to B. So, and if you're only cosmic intelligence, so we have to be grounded, but realize that we're in the world, but not of the world. That's maybe how someone like Jesus.
Absolutely. It's just essential. It is essential.
Alan, Bonnie, this is very exciting.
So
Thank
uplifting.
You.
Yeah, exciting would definitely be a word that I would use to describe our conversation, Alan. Thank you.
And you look great in that. That's a great backdrop. It's a great look. I'm glad Tony's.
Well, I'm really excited. Yeah, it's great to be working with Tony Sweet, and I know he specifically said, I had the idea. I was like, I'd really like to talk to Alan, and he said, absolutely. And I didn't realize that this was, really just brand new on the heels of this new release for you. So
yes, I always like talking to Tony Sweet. Tony, thank you for all the interviews we've done in the past. And
yes, so check out our archives for sure. Tony's like, should I pop in? But no, he's not going to do that right now.
It's okay. I know what you look like.
But Alan, really great to see you. Please take good care. Come back to California soon.
I will.
Again, to everybody, I think that you've given us a lot of perspective on really a higher truth. So I think that is very transformative.
We are the ETs we've been waiting for. Let's wake up to that.
That's great. Own that. All right. Best wishes.
Talk to you soon.
See you soon. Thank you,
Thanks
everybody, for tuning in, for listening. Please share and follow and like. And we hope that you enjoyed this, and we'd love your comments too. Until the next time, I'm Bonnie Burkert.